Okay, so this is what they do on the Nautilus. So, telepresence in Nautilus Lab. This is Dr. Ballard's mission. This is the definition for telepresence. Now, what's actually happening through telepresence is that Hercules, the bigger ROV, is down here, and he's just like, look, oh look, it's a pretty little rock, let's collect it. And he takes it up, puts it in, and he's looking around, seeing if there's any animals, he collects the samples. And then all this information that he's collecting about like what levels he's at, what level the surface of the terrain is going, is sent through this tether, or this cable, that goes up to Argus. Argus scouts out the environment around Hercules so that Hercules doesn't bump into anything, etc. And then all the information sent from Hercules up to Argus is sent up through this tether up to the ship. And then the ship sends its information from the control band to a satellite. Then this information is sent to the university where I was at, and from there we're able to pack that information into a readable and more visual format for the audience, and we put it on the site called nautiluslive.org, which is actually able for anyone to be a part of the experience that's happening right down there in the bottom of the ocean. It actually only has a 2-second delay. So what's happening that you're seeing on the screen is actually happening. So here we have pictures of Hercules and Argus' screen. So this is what happens. This is a screenshot of what happens when you go on nautiluslive.org. Here we have a picture of Hercules on the seafloor of the Mediterranean Ocean. There's not much down there. It's the Mediterranean. And then over here we have a picture of Argus scouting out and just looking down on Hercules. That's his main job, is to make sure that the tether doesn't get twisted so that nothing breaks, to make sure that Hercules isn't going to bump into anything, etc. Over here, we have a sonar reading. And now each pilot has a different sonar. They have the sonar for Hercules and the sonar for Argus. Now what a sonar shows you is the surroundings that are coming in from 4 directions. Now Hercules has a sonar that only reaches about 50 meters, which means he can't see very far. Well, as Argus, the scout, can see up to 150 meters. So that's why he can see ahead of time. These guys over here is what I do. I got the information, and then I'd be like, hey Sean, you should put this into some nice readable format. She'd be like, okay Marisa. And then we put it on a little pretty map. So we learned how to use binary code, C# script, JavaScript, etc. And we could jam it in. We could make, there's no program for this. You're just typing it into the main framework of the computer. And you're just telling it, I want you to give me a picture that has color, and I told it what kind of colors, what kind of shading, I gave it the palettes, I gave it the textures, I could label it, and I could even plot where Hercules was and keep it moving, as well as plot any, from the data loggers, if they found a fish right here and a rock right here, I could plot that on there. And on this site, you can actually, those educators, etc., you can hear them talking, you can hear everyone talking, the ROV pilots, and you can even send in questions, and the educator will answer you right away. Where we were and why. So we had to go through all of this to get to the ship, and then we boarded the ship over here, right in between Turkey and Syria, in a place called Marmaris. But we ended up going south, downwards with the ship, down to this little area around Cyprus. Cyprus stands for Kupris, which means copper, and this was one of the major trading islands a long time ago. Now the purpose of our expedition was because a long time ago there was these sea marauders, known as the sea people, as was written in some artifacts and scripts found a long time ago. And what they did is they're Turkish Ottoman Empire, from the Ottoman Empire, and they went through and they marauded Greece and all the way down here and into Cyprus. Now they leave trash trails. These trash trails are amphores. Amphores. They're kind of like nowadays are aluminum cans, just throw them, which isn't very environmentally friendly, but it could help marine biologists in the future be like, hey, I now understand your culture. Now these would leave a trail. However, what the issue was all the rivers that came down from Turkey and up from the Nile would end up pushing sand all over all these amphores, and they were impossible for ROVs to find, and that's way too much space to be covered. But what we did discover is that, remember these little islands I told you about? That's not an island, that's actually an underwater seamount. So when the rocks and the tectonic plates move downwards, it pushes the Earth in the center up. Now this allows for an underwater seamount to develop. This here was Eratosthenes, which is located right here, south of Cyprus. So all those trash shells that came down would land right on there. So you'd find piles of these amphores. Now if there's a pile of amphore that irregular, you can maybe infer that there's a shipwreck somewhere nearby. And that was the main purpose of mine and Sean's software, was to locate shipwrecks. And we did, in fact, locate Ottoman shipwrecks. Now over here is Anaximander. The lake before us, the two girls that were in our team but went before us, also located shipwrecks using their software that they developed. So what's awesome about Nautilus Live is that it's not only worldwide observation, but it's worldwide recruitment. And so that goes for all ages. It can go from ages of like in high school to college to people who have been in the field for decades. And they group them all up onto one ship, and there's people from all over the country. I was on a ship with people from Australia, from Venezuela, from Africa, from Scotland, from America. It was ridiculous. In Russia. And yet we all were there for the same purpose, and we could all connect with each other. Now there's a Nautilus Live Theater and Titanic exhibit, all in one museum. It's in Massachusetts, and it actually allows you to sit down and see the experience. Well, you can actually walk around through like an exhibit of the Titanic, etc. And it actually has an entire area dedicated to Bob Ballard. And then there's a Nautilus Live Theater where people go in and watch what's happening on the Nautilus Live website and have personal interviews with the people in the studios of the Nautilus. And so I participated in some of those interviews, like that one, or you sit down and there's people in the theater that you see and they're just asking you questions, and it was kind of stressful, but it was a cool opportunity to see the people that were so interested in what we were doing on the ship. Also, National Geographic published a series known as Alien Deep that focuses on the events of Nautilus Live, and they incorporated us, the Honors Research Program students. So the program for the Honors Research Program students ends up being you get to work at the graduate school and you learn about how to map, etc. No one goes in knowing any of this stuff. You all learn it. That's why it's an awesome experience. And they keep you entertained. Like, they don't just stress you out and make you work. They also pay you. So for the stuff you make, everything is all expenses paid. And then they pay you an extra $800 on top of it for the work you're doing. And then they pay for all of your souvenirs, etc. that you buy wherever you're going. So this is an example of what we're doing. So like here Sean is using code and scripts. So this is the data that we get in from the ROVs. We'd make our scripts and we'd run it through the main computer. So this is called a terminal. So like command prompt, etc. on PCs. And then you'd be able to develop these maps with your own formatting. And like this is a Mac program that we actually used to plot earthquakes, but over here we're using the same information, we're making it our own. And we actually have full communication with Nautilus the entire time. So like this is the room that you're in, and see this part right here, over here? This is actually a little box that allows you to communicate with the people on the ship, and you just learn the controls. And you can talk to any person on the ship. So like if you have a question, like I didn't understand what that information was coming, can you please explain it? You just tap a button, tell them, and they'll respond to you right away. I showed that. I'm not going to explain the application too much, but it looks lengthy. It is 15 pages plus, but it's actually not as bad. It's mostly a lot of reading, and most of you, I assume, are applicants. It also over here, like the only issues really with like the steps for applying is that the official transcript, you have to work it out with counseling and just talk to them step by step because they have to upload that to the person. You can't see it. So, purpose of the presentation was that next year they are going to the Caribbean, which is awesome. There's so much life in the Caribbean over the Mediterranean. Also, they also are offering an opportunity. So the main requirement for this particular program that I participated in was that you have to be a rising senior. But there is another program that is coming up for NOAA strictly. It's called the Okeanos Explorer, and it will allow you to, they aren't sure of where they're going, but it is basically the same program, and it focuses on mapping. But you get to do basically all the same things. You get to job shadow every person on the ship, etc. It's just an overall good experience. And that Okeanos Explorer allows you to be a senior going into college or a college student. And this is my information if you have any questions. Also, while I was on the ship, we actually found a new biota. So new little ecosystem. So actually here at the aquarium we have something that was part of that. They're called amphipods. And so on a piece of woodfall, as I described in the interview earlier, if you want to look, there's these little creatures that were living in the woodfall, and they're wood-boring bivalves, and we'd never seen them before. We had no idea what these were because they're a little bit different from any other species found. And so they leave behind this waste on this woodfall in the middle of the Mediterranean Ocean. And then these amphipods would come in and eat their waste, and then it would create kind of like a little tiny nursery log for other animals that therefore come in and eat the amphipods, etc. And it's just like these creatures would migrate from place to place to place, which is amazing because the temperatures are so extreme down there. And here I have, well, out of a battle of rock, paper, scissors over the last styrofoam cup, I lost. And so I only got the rim of the styrofoam cup. This styrofoam cup was like a soup cup, so it was pretty big. And this went down 5,000 feet with an ROV, and it shrunk. So if you were to take a regular styrofoam cup about this big, send it down 5,000 feet, or 1830 meters, it would be real tiny. So kind of shows, it's interesting to feel the texture too. It gets really tough. But yeah, if you guys have any questions,